Welcome to DCP Talks, episode 5. I've always wanted to feature my podcast, so I put it on my website. You can reach that at www.authorstephencandace.com. I've written so many books out there, and then now that I have so many on Audible, over 20, you should actually check them out and go look them out. I've decided to get my books out there like everybody else, throwing them on TikTok, throwing them on Facebook, Amazon, whatever I can do to get them out there. And good luck to everybody out there. This week's episode is Trust. I'm going to discuss 2 books in this week's episode. We're going to break those 2 books down about trust, and then we will see where we fall. You have an opportunity to send me feedback any single time you would like at authorstephencandace@gmail.com. Now let us get right to it. Episode 5 books are Prime and When Darkness Falls. First book, Prime. It is on Audible, and it is by Kathleen Moranti. Kathleen has her home studio, does amazing work. She's done 2 books for me. So therefore, she lives in the state of Connecticut in the United States. You can reach her through my Audible section on my website. Now let's talk about Prime. 325 pages. It is the year of 2045. Over 20 years since the plague of COVID has taken over and left its devastation worldwide. By the time the plague is under control, over 1 billion deaths have occurred. Countries were suffering economically due to all of this destruction. Countries had nothing to barter with. There were countries trying to offer anything, but they had nothing, so they had no food, no fresh water. They went back to the Stone Age. The only thing countries had left were their children. The United States government realized before there was too many people in the United States that were 40 years and older. They knew they would have to replenish their country with fresh young individuals to secure the United States' future. The government devised a plan to respond to this world's devastation. The government structured a senior fantasy future called Prime. Any person during their 49th year will receive a letter after 30 days of their birthday. The letter will contain information about their replacements and their departure date for the retirement to Prime by their 50th birthday. What is Prime? Prime is Florida. Florida is Prime, a beautiful sunny retirement state that the government's constructed. They reward the seniors of the United States for their dedication and hard work. They get to leave their homes and drive to the sunny state of Florida. There they get to choose their new lifestyle, the destination at no cost. Now the highest reward the government can give anybody that receives the right to just sail away to an island where they can choose a piece of their land and settle in for free for the rest of your life. That sounds like a winner to me. The government has also arranged for you to leave everything behind except for some clothes. You will have to worry about nothing. Your new replacements will reside in your home and take over everything that you possess. The government has found a solution that ensures everyone involved is taken care of. For our Prime members, everything awaits for you after you choose your destination. Let me give you a little taste of Prime. Rick takes a deep breath. He puts his head down. His chin hits his chest. He is tired. He is sore. His body aches from head to toe. His hands are full of calluses. He stares at his hands. He looks up to see the shitstorm in front of him. This place looks worse than a third world country. The devastation is everywhere. The bodies of sick people lining up against buildings seem endless. The endless bodies with disease and the smell of burning flesh still makes him sick to his stomach. as he opens his eyes and wakes up. Huh, interesting. Let me introduce to you When Darkness Falls, Book 2. That book is narrated by John Davies. John Davies is a teacher, actually, an actor, a nutritionist. He tours the leader of experience in the UK, US, Asia, and BBC English accent, located from England in the United Kingdom. When Darkness Falls is about the world finally destroying each other's resources until there is only one left, which is electricity. The world is set back to pioneer days except for 3 countries. We have Mexico, the United States, and Canada. The United States has less than 3 years to find another source. They ask Mexico and Canada to help, but they are refused. They have already trapped their people into isolated areas and can't give up any electricity or take any more people in their countries. There is just no room. The United States becomes furious. They plan to attack both countries to seize their territory and their resource. How can they do this? There will be resistance. When Darkness Falls takes place in the Niagara Falls area around as well as the borders. Let me give you a little taste. The captain was yelling for Kenny to get down or get back to them. Kenny turned to run when he was hit right in the middle of his back, setting him down to the ground in silence. He laid there next to his friend. He reached out his hand to touch Chris. He was hit once more, sealing his fate. The captain sighed and told the men to return to the buildings. We must retreat. They all headed back where they came from. Now let us break down crime for you. Seniors must leave their home to drive to the state of Florida to their new place, which they haven't even seen yet. They must now manage their new lives in this new world. Now they must deal with the emotions of losing everyone that was close to them behind. Now they understand that they have no choice but to adapt. Book 2, When Darkness Falls. In this story, the situation can be similar but different outlook. No one knows the outcome in any situation. We hope or believe things will work out. But if they don't, boom, it sucks. Think about it. If the world lost most of its resources, then fighting for the last one, how do you think this is gonna pan out? I just gave Canada's outlook because I live here. That's all. Living in both worlds from the United States and Canada gives me an advantage in this story. The relationship between the United States and Mexico begins on a rough note already. Their setback puts them on the defensive. This story unfolds, you will see and know how things turn out. Changing until shit hits the fan. That's how it goes. Now, my question is, why do people think they can jump into the situation immediately? Like, shouldn't the United States have been begging and pleading for help instead of forcing them and forcing a hand, right? You need time to figure out. Then you can meet in the middle, focus on the task at hand, and hope the outcome comes best. Okay, the United States is losing its electricity and fast. Well, what do you think? Now let's take Prime. It seems the senior women feel they know the truth, excited, while the men seem to be still trying to seek out the truth. That's secret shit once again, here we go. The seniors never knew that the truth was right in front of them. Let's think about it. The government decided to keep a secret while staying out of sight. They can watch you from a distance for hours and days. Some of these seniors think they understood the information was accurate. How would you feel once you find out the truth of anything? You always feel like shit, let's face the fact, unless you were right. Now, that sounds like the government here in both stories can be a little manipulative, controlling, unstoppable, emotional, and even turn on your ass, so don't take their crap. Be careful. In both stories. We just have to be leery, that's all. I've always wanted a better way. That's it. So if the government can help, God bless. Which brings us back, then why do some need to find themselves a better life over another? Even in these stories, you can be in the worst situation. What I mean is, why do some people have to feel more privileged for no apparent reason? I understand the keep up with the Joneses shit, or wanting a better source or a better life. I get it, like retiring. But products are like restaurants. There are so many out there to choose from. Not everybody's going to be happy. In most cases, we only need one, and not to be too greedy. That should be dealt with. Like in When Darkness Falls, 3 countries are after the same source, so there will be tension, right? Shit. Knowing one country is losing its real resource, that's a sign of war to me now. Now let's add spice to the relationship of this story. I'll explain. Like Canada and United States have a sense of togetherness and always have. And it may not seem it, but they do. They rely on one another, bringing them closer. There is a sense that if shit strikes you, you can call on one another. The old saying is, you don't need your brother until you really do. Now, Big Brother will help, which makes a little friend a very good friend, in my opinion. So you should keep good talks. Now, I knew a couple in When Darkness Falls. See, Shelley and Steve must think as one. They work separately on the wall, but they are always thinking as one. Both are dedicated to the cause and devoted to one another at no end. The best source of love, dedication. In Prime, no matter the standard of living, doesn't make a difference if you're rich or you're poor, everybody is treated the same at the same time. You never know that they did. The government funded everything, just saying, that's all. Now, in both stories may arise when some people feel the need to take control of the situation, like the United States. It seems even in our own country right now, the fight for survival is on. It's bad out there, where people can't decide between right and wrong, it seems. It's just making no sense. We believe all the right answers, right? Like, what the F? Come on, people. I think the old saying comes to mind, watch and listen, right? Can I get a holla? Holla! Which brings us to secrets and lies. In both of these stories, the main characters are the government, and they have lied to everyone by keeping secrets. What kind of secrets and lies are they really telling us? Why do we know nothing, and then they say they're not lying to us, and then we are forced to deal with what they tell us afterwards? In both stories, the secrets turn into lies, which leads into more deception with every passing moment. It's just how it works. So what happens when you have a good instinct? You feel something is not right. You are hiding something. You know they are not telling you the truth. If you can dazzle them with brilliance, then you can baffle them with bull. The best part is being someone trying to point you in another direction, like the government always does that. They try to point you and keep you steady fast. Meanwhile, the outside could be burning down. That's always throws a red flag for me, man. We have to dig and just keep our shit going. You know, the truth will set us free. Holla. When you feel something is coming to your end of your life, how do you feel? Everyone becomes private about their lives, and no one tries to tell anybody if they're sick. Nobody tries to tell her how they're really feeling. In both stories, there is no talking, just forced thinking, dictation, which is why I wrote these stories. Between trust and greed, it may indicate that they are not interested in your point of view at all, which I do not believe they are. Which comes to Both stories the government dictate to us about substantial rather than their point of view. They are less involved in your daily routine. Take Pearl Harbor, for instance. The Japanese maintained contact with the United States right up to the last minute, then broke silence to launch their attack like stealth shit. The government is like that, stealth shit. That's all I'm saying. Now, in both stories, that is what happens. They do not share shit about anything until it is there in front of you, smacking you in the face. No shit. If someone's not sharing, they're not caring in my book. Now, in Prime, everybody seems to support one another, your family, about your dreams and goals, and now you're leaving for Florida for retirement. Whoop, whoop, whoop. They actively encourage and support your aspirations. They want you to go. And then it may seem to me like it's some kind of brainwashing, I guess, effect, just saying shit. But in the story, it works. I love two couples in this story, Bill and Teresa, and then you have Mary and Jim. Both couples, one of them kind of leery, the other one's excited. See how that unfolds. In Prime seems to support everything because you're leaving for Florida for their retirement. That is the feeling that I wanted to capture. Everybody loves going to Florida, the sunny state. Now think of it as a retirement place for the rest of your life. It does sound nice. When you recognize signs that things do not look good, you want to protect yourselves and the people around you. If you notice these behaviors in the media or other things, you should be asking. That's all I'm saying. Which brings us to the why factor. Take Prime. You must travel to Florida, start a new life in a place you have not been to. I'd be leery as shit. Come on, drive all the way there and follow instructions. Not looking at anything or just trusting. The government will surround you with the perfect ambiance in order to make you feel more comfortable. In Darkness Falls, there are countries there where people already experience emotional distress. They have lived in this world for years, so they have less stress really compared to Prime. But they all have yellow flags still. No matter where you're at in this life or world, you still have a sense of whether it's right or whether it's wrong. You don't let your guard down. You don't want to be crushed. You don't want to be squished. Seriously, let's think about that shit. In both stories, they meet and then they leap, regardless of the consequences. Then it becomes a much more serious situation. Why did they feel that they need a new lease on life? Prime. They're ready to go. They're running out the door. They're honking the horns. They got signs on cars, Florida or bust. It is like the whole 9 yards. What I mean is, why do some people have so many illusions about something new that can restart their new beginning? I'm afraid to let them know it's a false illusion, setting themselves up for failure. That's all I'm saying. In both stories, the goal should be to remain calm. Take time to find out the information needed so you can offer what your abilities can do. I try to think before leaping at times because you just don't know. I don't believe everything someone is telling me. What I have learned from my own experience is to seek out and uncover the truth. That way you feel much better when you're faced with a serious decision, right? All I know is the truth will set you free. Once again, we come to this thing called regret. Why do we all regret something? Both countries are going to feel regret in this decision. One country wants to take over, the other country's resources. In the other book, you have people just going to a place and people are taking over everything that was yours. Now, I don't know about you, but that's a red flag to me. You knew the consequences, you knew the action was going to be, and yet you're still going along with it. Why do so many people seem like sheep jumping into the bandwagon instead of looking outside the box? And then they wonder why when shit hits the fan, then sudden things escalate. Now you're emotional, everything's out of control, and sooner or later it becomes a fucking nightmare. That's all I'm saying. Consequences though. The issue is that everyone knows the consequences of doing something that they know is wrong. Look at the United States attacking Mexico for their resources. Once you hurt someone in a fight or war, the feeling of guilt can overtake you, and the emotions are really hurtful. The worst was thinking someone standing there staring at you left in your soul after you've hurt them. Take, for instance, people do not comply with prime. If you do not comply with your circumstances, you fall into a desperate knowing they're a deadly outcome. The rebellion of choice is still there amongst us, as we are going to decide. Walking out of a job or simply just saying no, that is our resource. Leaping before we go. As we all been there before, know your enemy before challenging them to a duel. Just saying. In prime, there's no choice. You die if you do not comply, or you run and let the games begin. In both stories, there are so many characters that will keep you smiling and then wondering what happened to them. Not to mention the fun stuff from the runners that enlighten the crowds. In prime, you'll love the runners. It is something that is fun to listen to or watch. There are so many different personalities in both books. You will find yourself in love with all of them. In Darkness Falls, there is no light, no whining, no right or wrong, just pain. I want what they have. Now the choice is to give it to them or fight to keep it. I know where I fall. You can't have what is mine. Now, you can share your inputs at thoughts at authorstephencandace@gmail.com. Here's this week's episode 5-2 recipes. The first recipe is fried rice. The ingredients you're going to need are 3 cups of white rice, 2 tablespoons of sesame seed oil, 1 cup of frozen peas, a small onion chopped up, 2 teaspoons of minced garlic, 2 eggs slightly beaten, a 1/4 cup of soy sauce. It is better to use day-old rice, just saying. But if not, just let it sit out and cool for an hour or so, it'll be fine. In a medium-high heat pan, put some oil in a skillet or a wok. Add the peas and carrots and onions and garlic. Stir them until they're tender. Lower the heat to medium, and then you push everything aside. You pour in the egg into the one side of the skillet, and you stir it up so they are scrambled. Then you add the rice and soy sauce, and then everything, you blend it as well. Heat it up to comply. Bam! Throw a little sesame seeds on there if you want, or there you go, it's ready to go. Our second recipe we're going to do is bruschetta bread. Bruschetta bread, you're going to need 1 hoagie roll, a 1/2 cup of diced tomatoes, a 1/4 cup of diced red onions, 1 tablespoon of basil, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper, and 1/2 teaspoon of garlic, and 1 tablespoon of olive oil. You're going to turn your oven on 400. You're going to cut the hoagie roll in half. Mix all the ingredients. Drain the tomatoes well before you add everything in. Then you're going to spread them evenly over one on each side of the bread. Place it in the oven for 10 minutes. Cut into pieces. Yum da fuck yum. It is delicious. Now, things that make you go, Why do partners always want to talk you out of decorating for the holidays? And what I mean is, every holiday, why do you decorate? No one sees it, she says. I like it, I say. So then I decorate a little. No, right? I find that some spouses do not want to help in decorating or parties, and then they want to question you when you do. I don't understand that part because it's our choice if we want to do it. You know what I mean? So now that they constantly tell me no, so I just get mad, so I blow everything up. I make it twice as decorative. I make sure that every end from top to bottom to left to right is covered from the minute you walk in the door all the way to the back. That's my rant. So if you want to do that, I can do that too. Can I get a holla? Leave us decorators alone and let us do our thing. Episode of Older Shit. If someone can explain to me why every time I go upstairs or out into another room, I have lost my thoughts. I stand there looking around the room, then ask myself, what are you in here for? Why are you here? Like, WTF, seriously. I have to look at my phone to see where I'm going sometimes. I leave messages because that's the only way I think I won't forget shit. You better learn to write things down in order for you to keep yourself going in the direction you need to. Now, this week's quote of the week. Believe you can and you're halfway there. Believe you can and you're halfway there. Now let's enjoy our lives and everything around us. Relax, grab a good book, and we will chat with you soon. Holla! Have a great day. Looking forward to next adventure. DCP Talks is out.